Hey guys, Carlos Colon with Georgia Perimeter Homes, and this is going to be 10 things I wish I'd known before I bought my first home. So a lot of agents, when you go shopping for a home, will tell you, hey, yeah, get pre-approved, we'll make an offer, we'll close. This is going to go a little bit deeper because there are things that you need to know on the front side that go in a little more detail. And so there's all kinds of things that are really important for you as a buyer to know. And so really the first one is going to be buy with confidence. Now, it's easy to say when you've never purchased a home before, but the reality is your first home is typically never your forever home. And so it's important to understand that really what matters is that it fits the bill of what you're needing. It's in the right price point. It meets all that criteria. Because when you go to sell it, really it's about the money you make after that to roll into what comes next. And so it's important for you to step back and look at the big picture. Buy with confidence. Now, if you're still not confident doing this by yourself, this is when you lean on your amazing agent to help you with it. Now, the reason I say amazing agent is because you should always interview agents to make sure that the person that you're working with is looking out for your best interest. So if they crack doors or open doors for you, for example, and just stand outside and don't have a conversation, probably shouldn't be an agent you're working with. What that means is when they walk in, they're going to be looking for the things, since they do this on a daily basis, they're going to be looking for the things that meet your criteria or things that you should be asking or questions you should be asking that you wouldn't normally think about. And so that's how you know your agent is really looking out for you. And so look for those red flags. If you have any questions or think that maybe you want to work with other people, you can. That's your right to. Just make sure you interview agents and pick the best one for you. Number 2, know what you want. This really boils down to writing down a list of your must-haves and also what you want that aren't necessarily needs, they're just wants. We need to operate off that list. The reason why this is important is I've worked with so many people that will start with a list. That list will be completely different 7 days later, and now we're looking at new constructions when they told me they wanted a large home in an established community. Those are not the same. We need to constantly be on the same page to make sure that we're looking for the same things. And sometimes the conversation and what we really do want does change. There's nothing wrong with that. We just need to make sure that we're both thinking the same thing, so we're looking for the same things and helping each other. So, know what you want, put it down on a list, and make sure that we constantly come back and go, okay, we started with this list, now we're looking at these types of homes. Does this still meet this list? Or does our list need to change? Then at that point you can make an informed decision to make sure that you're still looking for the right type of home for you. Number 3, stick to your budget. Now, the reason why this is so important is because it's very easy to see the shiny object on the side that's $50,000 higher and go, I want that. In a lot of situations, our budget is going to dictate pretty much our lifestyle in the home. And so our home is just where we reside, but what we do outside of that home is also important too. Our budget gives us the flexibility to be able to do other things with our money, obviously. And so if we spend all of our money on the purchase of a home and monthly payments, maybe we don't live the life that we really want to just because we have this big shiny home. So make sure you stick to your budget and don't be derailed by these shiny objects left and right. A perfect example would be I started with a $250,000 price point that we were shooting for, and now we start looking at all of a sudden $400,000 homes because they're nice and big and beautiful. That's completely different than what we started with. Why were we here in the first place, and what led to looking at this? Have those conversations openly to make sure that we stay on track. Number 4, pick the right agent. This goes back to what we talked about in number 1, which means interview, make sure that we're working with the right person that's going to advocate for us, and make sure that they have our best interests in minds. Make sure that they have our best interest in mind, and they're thinking about the things that we wouldn't normally think about. Number 5, get your mortgage 100% down pat. What I'm really talking about here is a lot of people think when you've been pre-approved that you've gotten your mortgage 100% locked in. That is absolutely not what that means. In fact, that initial pre-approval means almost nothing until you turn in your documents to that lender and they take a look at it and they what they call underwrite those documents. What I prefer and what I wish I would have known is that if I turn those documents in ahead of time and the underwriter reviews them, they can go ahead and tell me what red flags and what other additional documentation they might need to be able to do this loan. I can go ahead and do that on the front side. I really don't want to be doing that in the middle of my transaction because that's frustrating, very frustrating. So if we can knock all this stuff out on the front side, it will save a lot of headache, I promise you. If you're not working with a lender that will underwrite you on the front side, call us or call your agent and let's talk. We'll get you to someone that will. Number 6, know the market you're trying to buy in. So we can know what the real estate market is doing generally, but it's extremely important that we study what I call our sub-markets, which means, let's say that we're looking at a home in downtown Atlanta. If I pick up that same house that's worth $400,000 there, and I put it in Lawrenceville or I put it anywhere south of Atlanta, that home may not be worth $400,000 anymore. It might be worth $180,000, $220,000, $250,000. I need to know what the market that I'm looking in is doing and what I can expect for my money. That means if I have a budget, like we talked about before, of $250,000, but I'm looking in Buckhead and that's not meeting my needs, maybe I should change the area so that I can meet my needs with my budget. So it's an important conversation to have. Your agent should be guiding you through this if you need some help with it. And so that's one of the important conversations that I wish I would have known that you can know now. Number 7, you can and should negotiate. So this really has more to do with what you do once you're under contract and even before it. Now, in a buyer's market, you can do this beforehand. My personal strategy is let's lock in the home if you really love it, and let's knock out the rest of the negotiation once we're under contract. And so that way no one else can just take it from us. And so if you really love a home, get it under contract. And then if there's things about it during your inspection or certain things that you want to do to it that don't fit the bill, let's try and negotiate with the seller. Let's see what we can do. There's no harm in asking. That is extremely important to understand. If they say no, the worst that happens is you're back to where you were before you asked anyway, as long as you're under contract first. So take the advice of your agent. Make sure that you understand not every situation will allow for that, and especially in a really strong seller's market. It just depends on your situation and your price point. Number 8 is always get a home inspection. This is something that I personally believe no one should ever skip. I don't care how confident you are in it. I don't care if a big name builder built it. Get the home inspection. It's extremely important because there are a lot of times where things are missed. Even in new construction, if you can imagine, you've got 20 different people doing 20 different jobs. What are the chances that something was missed? I mean, it's just really important to understand that. What if the countertop was actually broken in a certain place and you have granite countertops and there's a huge crack that you missed and you didn't find out until after closing? Well, guess what? Your inspector would have probably caught that. It's really important. I know it feels like a lot of money, but the $300 to $500, $600 that you're going to spend on this will be worth every penny because you will know exactly what condition your home is in when you move into it. Number 9. Know what contingencies are protecting you and how they work. Contingencies are the things built into a contract by a real estate agent that protects you against loan default, if the inspection comes in bad and we can't come into an agreement, if the appraisal comes in too low. These protections are typically for a buyer extremely important, and they allow you in a lot of cases to step out of that contract if things don't go the way they should. However, it's not an all-encompassing, it protects you every time, because your agent, you and your agent put down the terms of these contingencies within your offer. Also know, the stronger those contingencies are that protect the buyer, the weaker your offer looks to the seller. It goes both ways, so you need to understand that. In a very strong seller's market, we may want to put forth a really strong offer with very low or minimal contingencies that will protect you moving forward. That way they select you and we get to the closing table without any issues. But if your loan is not very strong, we may not want to waive some of those contingencies. And so, again, defer to your real estate agent, have this conversation on the front side, understand these protections when you're making the offer so you know what your options are in the middle of being under contract. Last but not least, number 10. Tug at the seller's heartstrings. And I know this seems so weird and so silly, but I promise you, if you're in a multiple offer situation as a buyer and you want to stand out, sometimes your story of, I've got 3 kids and I just want to raise my family in the right place, sometimes that appeals to the seller. And they might choose you just because they want somebody that's going to love it just like they did. And so this doesn't always work, but it's at least worth a shot. Speak to your agent about it because there are guidelines in different areas on what you can do and what you cannot do. For example, maybe you want a picture in there, but your agent should probably give you the advice, if I give it to the seller with a picture, could they discriminate, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of ins and outs you need to know. Again, the key is there's no harm in trying, especially if you're in a multiple offer situation and you want to win. That's it. Those are the 10 things that I wish I would have known when I was buying my first home. And if you want more information and you're buying your first home or you're selling your first home, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you. Our number is 770-314-1285, or reach out on our website and check it out, www.georgiaperimeterhomes.com. Thanks. Bye.